This episode of Profiles in Risk is brought to you by InsurTech Connect Las Vegas. The legendary ITC is coming back to Vegas October 14 to 16 at the Mandalay Bay Casino. ITC is the largest InsurTech conference in the world by a long shot and the absolute cannot miss event of the year. We never miss it, neither should you. Register today using our discount code INSNerd200. Again, that's INSNerd200 and see you in Vegas, baby. And when you're there, look for me. I'm the guy with the red top hat and ask me for a magic trick. Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas. And I did sleep well last night, so I won't say my sleep deprived, but overly caffeinated as always. And today I have with me returning guest, Charles Merritt, CEO and co-founder at Buddy. Charles, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
It's going great, Tony. It's good to see you virtually, and we've obviously just come out of a lot of the conference season in our industry. So I've had the pleasure of seeing you a number of times over the last
Yes.
couple of months, and it's always a joy to see what you've got cooked up and what's up your sleeve, so to speak, and literally.
Perfect. I have a lot of fun doing what I do. So you were originally episode 298. We had episode 702 or 703 go out yesterday. So we're recording on July 2nd, just before the July 4th break. So at that time, what I have on the show notes, it is Buddy, the insurance gateway for people who build software. They give product
Yep.
teams and developers who are being tasked with integrating insurance APIs inside of applications and help accelerate distribution of digital insurance products. They help product teams. So yeah, very much looking forward to an update. What is Buddy and at this point you guys are fairly mature in insurtech. Many don't make it to 3 or 4 years.
There are many people who warned us against trying to build an enterprise software company that sells
Uh-huh.
to insurance carrier as a venture-backed startup. Um, and I won't say we've proven anyone wrong, but we also have not been proven wrong yet in our thesis that it's going to work.
Fantastic.
So that's how I'll characterize that. From episode 298 until today. Buddy has grown as a company. When we first spoke in that episode, we were really coming out of a pivot where, Buddy started as a vertical MGA, with technology really being part of our core. And then we pivoted into an enterprise software company, providing the tools of e-commerce to insurance carriers and brokers with underwriting authority. And that is, in fact, what we have built over the last couple of years since we initially spoke post pivot. We may talk about certain elements of it slightly differently, but we still recognize that the speed of getting an insurance product up and running on our platform and enabling our customers to get their distribution channels turned on, lickety split, that is still Buddy's superpower today. And the ways in which we do that, have somewhat evolved and updated, but really we're still very clear in our core thesis and our architecture of how we're approaching the problem. So, what we do today is evolution and growth around where we were in episode 298. However, we're still very much on the track of building that transaction layer for insurance.
Fantastic. So the easiest way to sell insurance online, according to the website, connect
That's right.
once, leave bulky API integrations behind forever. Okay, so as a
That's right.
non-technical guy, uh, in my mind,
Mm.
basically, like I connect to your API and things just magically work. So tell me about like bulky API, like the way that it used
Yeah.
to be before, buddy. What was that like?
Yeah, so I think you've got the second part of that absolutely correct, which is things just magically work. So at Buddy, we're actually not providing anyone with an API as our core product. Uh, what we are really providing to our customers is the ability to index their insurance products into our data engine, and then they are able to use our software components to distribute their insurance products through digital channels. So they end up with a React component or an iframe component. We do dynamically generate APIs, although when a downstream distribution channel gets the opportunity to choose between a React component where everything's self-contained or an iframe where everything's self-contained, or looking at API docs and having to design an entire interface, go through the compliance and QA process, all the things that you have to do when you build on just an API, none of our customers' distribution channels have ever selected the API when they're presented with something that they can implement after lunch and then go home. And so, I think the key differentiation for us is really taking the things that the the sort of internet and e-commerce industries have learned
Hmm.
through companies like Stripe, Shopify, Plaid, who have taken these complex systems of commerce and finance and obfuscated the complexity so that, semi-technical users or technical users can implement something really quickly, and all the complexity lives inside of the platform, not at that implementation level or at that use case level. And so we've really built that model for the complex financial services sector that is insurance.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. So basically, it comes with the UI already built, and we can
So the
customize that
UI,
UI according to the.
so
Mhm.
Yeah, so we actually take the filing, or if a carrier has an API, we will build a data index model of that. So everything about that product lives in the data. The forms, the information we need to collect, the logic about how the product works,
Mhm.
about how the PDFs need to get assembled for fulfillment in real time at the point of sale, all that is data. And from that data, our application layer, our software application layer, can dynamically build the correct UI for any given point of sale. So there's not a UI that's out of the box. The UI is actually generated from the data model in
Ah,
real time. And
okay.
so there's no one coding a UI at Buddy, right? The UI elements come out of the type of data that need to be collected. So that means that I have effectively one React component for, let's say, a D2C transaction of an insurance product. The same React component powers a homeowner's product, that powers an auto product, that powers a product for group benefit. It's one software component that calls into that data model, the data model that instructs that component how to behave in whatever the context is, and it dynamically builds out the right thing for that environment to complete the transaction.
Right. Fully managed compliance. So in this case,
Hmm.
you mean the insurance compliance.
Hmm.
Basically, since you're, I'm trying to get my head around that, having never been a product person. Since
Yeah.
since the forms and everything live on your side,
Hmm.
you're guaranteeing us that they're compliant with the DEOI for all 50 states.
Yes. So our customers at the carrier, they have visibility into all of this, right? So you can say, like, you can test in the QA environments. You can look at all of this on the carrier side and say, okay, and we have customers who will go through and click all the buttons a billion times in all the states.
Uh-huh.
And we also, of course, have like programmatic batch testing for customers who want to do programmatic batch testing to QA everything. So we have all of these environments so that the carriers legal team, their underwriting team, all of the folks who need to be confident that something is working, they can basically test all of the data model and how it's going to show up in the world through our software in a controlled environment. And then once that implementation happens at a point of sale, you of course can go to the URL at your distribution partner and see the same thing. But it's all coming out of a single data model of the product. So as long as the data don't change, it doesn't matter where it's being called from. And so comparing this to a solution that's a point solution, for example, so if I am giving someone API docs and that distribution partner is building a user interface on top of my API, yeah, then I do have to actually go QA what's going on over there because it's not coming out of a centralized place. It's only at that one point of integration. So one of the things that Buddy does for our customers is we actually can help them scale their compliance and their legal and their underwriting controls to thousands of points of distribution across all of the digital channels that they might want to sell in.
All right. Licensed in all 50 states. So
Yep.
you started as an MGA, but then you became a enterprise software provider. Why do you need to be
Mhm.
licensed?
So we find that our customers who are carriers generally like for folks who are moving premium on their behalf to hold a producer license. And so, since we serve as the buy button and we're generally processing a payment on behalf of the carrier,
Got it.
it helps with everybody feeling good in the compliance side of the house. We're not out there sourcing demand for our customers, but for some of the technical things that our customers want to use our software for, those licenses really do make everyone feel good. And when we talk to folks who are in state regulators' office, they tend to like that too.
Okay, got it, got it, got it. All right. So why choose Buddy? Speed to market, make your product ion compatible within weeks.
Yep.
Equip your distribution channel with digital native products next month. Okay, easy for the
Hmm.
developers, lots of copy and pasting of code, better UX, compliance and security built in all 50 states. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Yeah, man.
All
So,
right.
one of the things that we get excited about when we talk to our customers is learning where the industry thinks it's going. And then, most of our team comes from consumer tech, and very heavily software-driven backgrounds. And so we like to compare notes and look at which way insurance thinks they're going, listen to our other channels of information in sort of the general tech world, and figure out like, all right, where are we going to triangulate? Where are we going to actually end up? And I think there's a technical literacy gap in the insurance industry compared to others. And we have seen this come to fruition in a couple of different places. And it even happens between our customers who have different abilities and different proficiencies too. So, we'll have customers who are awesome at sort of the underlying software infrastructure behind their products, and they've rolled some great, custom core system that powers their products and their underwriting and is awesome, right? Then we have another customer who just sends us forms and rating manuals, and their whole product lives in our system. It doesn't matter to us, we're agnostic to all of that.
Okay.
Um, but then, we will see some customers who, by contrast, are really thinking about like, what is this user's experience, right? Like, I want the design to look great. I want it to flow through. I want to have the best converting possible presence online that I can. And then we have others who are like, unless they check this 5-page disclaimer, they cannot touch the first part of our form, right? And so we see all different kinds of gaps in people's literacy with modern e-commerce. And I think as we're watching the world accelerate past just the pure like buy Amazon, buy with a one-click Amazon model of purchasing,
Uh-huh.
and we're starting to get in this very interesting world of agentic commerce, that gap is going to widen drastically in people's comfort levels and also their technical ability. So, for just sort of a quick anecdote, a buddy, we work with the fine folks over at Stripe as a product partner, and at Stripe Sessions this year, Stripe rolled out agentic payment intents, which are ways to equip an AI agent to go to a Stripe-powered transaction and make a purchase on behalf of the user without the user ever having to go to that point of sale. And when we think about what that means for insurance, it means that, oh, I can just ask my favorite AI shopper to go get my car insurance somewhere. And that's that's a transaction that's going to happen for, the bulk of purchases, probably in the next 5 or 10 years. It will be the norm to have that kind of agentic experience. And in the next, call it 2 to 3, it will become a significant portion of the market because consumer behaviors are shifting, right?
Mhm.
We're using AI platforms as supplemental or in some cases even default operating systems for how we get information. So what Google search was in 2006, 2008, right? We are now getting into that kind of AI
Mhm.
optimization for those platforms for discovery and transaction, from here for the next transformation
Yeah,
of consumer
Sam
behavior.
Altman recently said um, that the older crowd, and you and I both qualify. He said 40 plus uh, tend to use ChatGPT as a Google replacement, and the
Hmm.
younger crowd tends to use it as a live operating system.
Yep.
Uh, so yes, either way, um, when it's no longer me Googling auto insurance, but rather me asking Samantha, my ChatGPT, to just
Hmm.
handle it,
Hmm.
uh, it's a whole different game. Yeah.
That's right. And because we have built Buddy in the way that we have, where we build those data objects that fully encompass the insurance product and how it works, what we have actually done is made the insurance product extensible as software. And so any product running in Buddy's Ion engine is actually ready to be sold through an AI today. It's also ready to be interrogated by an AI. So running on our Ion engine means that you can ask an AI chat, how does this product work? What does it cover me for? What would
Ah.
happen if I had this kind of a claim against this product?
So
And
this is truly fascinating. It brings me right back to the beginning of my insurance career, being the express claims call center at Farm Bureau of Iowa was where I started, and
mhm,
it was a really cool area. So we would receive the call and write policy number, what vehicle or what happened, enter in the system, and if it was a simple claim, we would keep it and work it ourselves. If it was clear liability, not a total loss. Uh, but where it gets really interesting is often people would be like hypothetically, and it's usually agents calling hypothetically, if my client had this loss, would it be covered? Right. And the answer that we were trained to say is file the claim, right?
mhm,
Uh,
mhm,
because we just don't know. Like it's all about how the policy gets read.
mhm,
Um, and like claims adjusters have historically been trained to not answer is would this be covered question when it's hypothetical, right?
mhm,
So getting to a point of trusting an AI enough to answer the question based on the form is
mhm.
much better customer service. Let's start there, right? So they actually
Right.
know what they're buying or what they bought. And number two, scary for the industry.
Of course. And it's something that I fully do not expect to turn on overnight, right? We're going to iterate into some version of this. And the key thing that we're able to provide at Buddy is an auditable model for how the AI understands the insurance product. And
Perfect.
so when you think about all of the people in that claims adjusting office, right? You can't understand the difference between two individuals' comprehension of a policy, right? Like if you and I we went through the same training, right? We got the same test score on the evaluative test on the other side of that training on a specific product, we might still come up with a different answer for a specific scenario when it came across our desks. And that creates that weird variance in like claims loss. But then you talked about agents. It also creates that difference up front too, where I talk to one agent about what I need for my home, and I talk to a different agent about what I need for my home, and I get two fundamentally different recommendations,
Uh-huh.
even though it's the same physical structure that both of these licensed agents are looking at. And I don't personally have an opinion about which agent is right or wrong, but I would love to see what's going on inside of their heads and how they understand the world
Uh-huh.
around them and how the insurance policies work. And that's the thing that we're excited to be able to power now, coming out of our engine when we build indexes of products.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, um, at this point, you're a pretty mature insurtech. So at this point, you've got a number of carrier and MGA partners live
hmm
on it.
hmm Correct.
And which products are do you guys do?
Yeah. So, we're fully agnostic at Buddy. So we run auto, life, we run we've done some interesting stuff like crypto wallet insurance, pet insurance. We do, like group AD&D disability type products. And I think one of the misconceptions early on about our business was that we only powered embedded insurance. But in fact, we've always powered the e-commerce of insurance. So selling on the internet. And we do that in direct to consumer. We do that in agent broker enabled environments, benefits platforms, embedded where the insurance is part of another transaction. And so, we have really always found that when we approach insurance, from the outside in as people who largely came up in consumer e-commerce and fintech, it's a buy button and the money moves. And so to do the transaction, that's what you need. And the context of it, where that's happening, is somewhat irrelevant at the end of the day. It's very relevant to the carrier, and it's very relevant to a broker or a distribution partner. But from a pure technology perspective, it really does not matter where this transaction is occurring to be able to power it. And I find it to be fascinating that there are entire, divisions and workflows set up to have two channels of distribution for a single product when it comes to e-commerce. Right? It makes sense in different types of environments where it's, not a digital transaction, but really what we're talking about here is translating data from some input source against a rating algorithm, whether that's held on the carrier side, held in our engine, and then giving the authority to bind that policy to the customer through their user input, right? Like that's what we're talking about technically. And it is not a complex technical solution to do that part of it. The complexity is in the understanding of what is this insurance product and how does it work. And that's the superpower that we've built under the hood at Buddy so that no one ever downstream has to worry about that.
All right, all right. Um, so what are you what's coming down the development pipeline that you're excited for the rest of 2025?
Yeah. We have internally now done an instant onboarding of an insurance product. So we've been able to file rates, a filing of forms and rates, and throw it into our engine and have an e-commerce UI rendered out in about 90 seconds. When you think about what it costs to do that, if you're a carrier who calls up a big consulting firm, you're going to spend tens of millions of dollars, take a couple of years, and you're going to end up probably with like one portal page and maybe a D2C page at the end of the day, where logic is written into software that you can't change without doing a bunch of developer hours to update a rate, right? And that model we fundamentally expect to kill. Um, so yeah, that's what you can expect from us is instant onboarding.
Instant onboarding. I remember when I had, uh, I believe it was Instando
Mhm.
on the podcast, and this was a few years ago, and they talked about being able to get a product up in about 3 weeks,
Yeah,
and
which is
that
still
seemed
that's still
super
fast, right?
amazing.
That's still fast. And the realities of working with a carrier are different than the technical possibilities, right? To go back to our earlier conversation, because we can hand that e-commerce experience over, but it still won't go live until it's blessed by, everybody right up to the Pope to walk out the front door. And that part of it is fundamentally out of my control.
Uh, and the Pope is behind because he's new. So there was
He's still getting
uh
up to
right,
speed on
exactly,
South Dakota. Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
baseball season because
Right. That's right.
reportedly he's a White Sox fan.
He's a big
Uh,
Chi Sox fan. Yeah. So we'll see how the Southsiders do this year.
all right, all right. Okay, cool. Um, Pricing, and I'm sure we talked about it last time, but just in case it's changed,
Yeah.
pricing and the kind of commitment. If we bring Buddy on, are we committing to like a 3-year contract? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's enterprise software. So our pricing typically will meet the customer's use case. But the model is a per product model. So if you bring your homeowners on, we treat it as one product, and you can run that across all the markets you want to run it across in the US. We also then take a transaction fee of everything we process. So we take some points on the transaction. Significantly less than you would expect to pay a producer broker because we're processing the transaction. We're not going to sourcing demand. So there's still plenty of commission available for whoever is doing the downstream if that's built into your pricing model. So that's typically how we would work. As any good enterprise SaaS company does, we typically offer pricing benefits for folks who want to commit to more. So you want to bring 3 products on, we'll charge you less per product. You want to commit to certain volumes, we can bring down the number of points that we would take on the transaction. So that's typically how we would work. Our contracts are variable in length, and then that, as you would imagine, also correlates to pricing. So it really is about what works for our customer and what fits within their procurement and their buying cycles. We know that in our business, we're a crucial partner for any of our customers. And so we tend to be very flexible in terms of how we structure it, because it's not a one size fits all kind of sale, since everybody's built their budgets differently.
All right, all right, awesome, awesome. Thank you for catching us up. It's awesome
Yeah, man.
to see that you guys have continued to scale, and at this point you're basically fully deployed.
Yeah.
Just looking to get more carriers and NGS on the platform.
That's right. And we expect to go out for capital this year. So we look at the world right now, we see some incredible opportunities for growth. And from my perspective, we're on track to build a great business as we stand today. And I also am somewhat competitive, as you might imagine startup founders are. And I think that it would be fantastic for us to scale up and win more of the market faster.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today.
Great to be here, Tony.